Hello everyone, and welcome to the pocket realm of the internet known as Mightyfoxxy. So we're here with some Rust, the new version, formerly experimental, but I'm just going to call it new. So, we're going to do a survival guide, and discuss a few new updates as well. So, first thing you should normally do is get yourself some wood and some stone, but if you just happen to spawn by an animal like I did just now, beat it to death. Beat that thing to death with no mercy. Now, don't beat too many to death, because it's just a waste of resource. Damn it, you stupid pig! There, alright. Killing things with a rock can be kind of a pain in the ass. But you want to get yourself some cloth, and hopefully some meat. You might not get meat using the rock to harvest. It's incredibly unpredictable. I was lucky there. I did get at least one piece of meat. But, trust me, it's not always going to happen. I've actually beaten them to death before and not gotten meat. So, one of the main new updates you'll see in just a moment, after I get some wood here. Now, it's not a great improvement from the rock, but it is better than the rock. And it's the salvaged hammer. It takes a few moments to make and such, but while we're waiting on that craft, we'll get ourselves a little more wood here. Now, the trees actually give varying amounts. Smaller trees will only give up to 500 wood. Some of the big, nice, thick, giant trees can give up to 1,500 wood. Now, I haven't tried some of the ones that look like they're actually just supposed to be pieces of the landscape, but I would imagine that they can give even more. Okay, so we've been getting 20 a hit with the rock. Now let's try this out. 30. Not a great improvement, but it's better than nothing. So, let's see how much wood we got. Okay, so we've got... Let's just go ahead and finish off this tree, because I'm curious how much this one had. Okay. Okay, so now we've got that taken care of. Next step, we want to build ourselves a hammer, some paper, low-grade fuel, and we'll wait on that to craft while we go hunt down a rock. Yes, a rock, because despite the new addition of the salvaged hammer, this stone hatchet is still the best thing to really start your crafting out with, unless you can get a furnace going. In which case you need metal ore, and that still requires a rock. But using the actual stone hatchet is still significantly easier than trying to beat things with a rock or even the salvaged hammer. And the salvaged hammer is better than the rock. They've fixed a lot of the errors with the rock actually being one of the most lethal things in the game. It's now pretty craptastic. I tried to beat a dead body to death with it or an unconscious person a while ago with it, and it did not go well. It did not go well at all. So now, if you're as fortunate as I was to come across enough materials to get a furnace right off the bat, you might just want to go ahead and skip all that shenanigans and just go straight to the metal one. It crafts a lot faster, it's a lot more reliable, it's better at killing. But once you've got your hatchet, which we'll have in just a moment, you go ahead and start working on harvesting more animals and more stones and such. So, while I'm harvesting this, we'll discuss one of the other new additions. You can now die from the cold. When you get in the water, you'll get a wet stat. When you get fully submerged in the water, you'll get what's called soaking wet. If you stay in the water too long, you'll become cold. And you will start to lose health, about 1 per second. If you stay completely submerged in the water, you will eventually, usually if you just swim straight down and get wet and then soaking wet without coming back up, you will, about a couple seconds after becoming soaking wet, become drowning, and you will hemorrhage health alarmingly quick. You will die in a matter of moments. And if you can't get out of the water fast enough, the cold will kill you. A lot of people have realized since the animals have begun to attack, you can die from bleeding to death, which is not a pleasant way to go. So that's one reason why, if you're lucky, avoid the bears and wolves and stuff. You don't want to have to go and tangle with them. So we're going to get ourselves some more wood real quick. And while we discuss one of the other new additions. More weaponry. So let's look at this weaponry. There's now spears. A stone spear and a wooden spear. It's not really clear the difference between them other than a big pointy stick with some stone on it versus a big pointy stick. Combat-wise, I haven't really had a chance to test them out. I will do that in a few moments, but yeah. So after you've got your paper, you start on your building plan. Obviously. Now, I'm going to continue to harvest for a minute, because why not? It'll take a few minutes for that metal to be done. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut. Through the magic of editing, we'll be back when the metal is finished. Okay? See you in a minute. Okay, guys, we are back. So, now that we've got enough metal, we'll go ahead and we'll make the actual hatchet. The pickaxe, it isn't bad, but I've never really found a use to it other than it seems to be able to harvest resources, stone resources a bit faster. Doesn't really make much of a difference. We went ahead and I crafted some burlap pants. We're going to go ahead and try out the stone spear. Find ourselves an animal while all this crafts. And see if we can detect the difference between the spears. So on the subject of animals, if you're just spawned in and the only animals around you are bears and wolves, you're probably pretty much screwed on trying to kill one of them. Even if you manage to kill one, you'll likely bleed to death. I mean, I've managed to kill a wolf with a rock, and the result was I had such little health left I bled to death. So, you see up there's a bear. I'm not gonna go fuck with that bear. I'm gonna fuck with this deer. So. Okay, so the detection on those things is not great. Alright, so we're just gonna, while we wait for the hatchet to harvest, we're gonna leave none wasted. Alright, so as far as I can tell, both the spears take around the same time to craft, because this one's taking a couple minutes on its own right to craft. And we'll be back what it does, so that way we can get a proper opinion of the spears. Okay guys, we're back. So, we've got the stone spear crafted, and well, we used the stone spear previously. So now we're going to try the wooden spear. Apparently the only difference is it's lacking a rock on the tip. Alright, it took 3 strikes to kill the deer with it. So the stone spear does seem to be a better hunting weapon. Now PvP-wise it might be the other way around, but I can't imagine that if one's better at hunting than the other one is, then it would change. Now just to confirm, we're going to go ahead and use the stone spear on a deer again. Yep, 2. 2 versus 3. Now many of you may be sitting there going, but dude, it's easier just to find someone, kill them, and take their shit. Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you what, there are people like me on servers who will hold a grudge. I have actually hunted people down with the express purpose of getting revenge. So I'm going to show you how hard it can be to take out some of these larger animals. Alright, so with the spear it's not so much of a big deal, but as you can see I am bleeding. Alright, the bleeding stat should actually go away in a second. Cool. But normally, a bear is pretty much going to kill you if you're don't have a hatchet or taking it on at range. Yeah. Also, the hit detection on the animals is weird. They can hit you from several feet away. So if you're going against a predator animal, you're better off being really freaking careful about it. So I made a bonfire while we were waiting. Alright, so wolf skulls, they drop off every animal, humorously enough, and they are pretty much useless. So, next, now that we've got ourselves nice and set up and established and all that fun stuff, most people would be like, oh, well, first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to build me a nice... I'm gonna build me a set of clothes or something. You can do that. It's not a bad idea. Granted, you may want to build yourself at the very least a hunting bow, which it just generates super quick. We're gonna go ahead and throw this spear on the ground. Maybe somebody will find it and they'll be like, cool, somebody left me a present. Sure, I left you a present. You insane person. So, I've used up the wood. I'm gonna harvest a little more real quick and we'll discuss what else. Now, we've discussed the fact that you can freeze to death if you get too wet. You can bleed to death. You can starve to death. Which leads us to the point of... if you don't have the... 90% of the time, you're not going to have the blessing I did of spawning with over 100 food and drink. Usually, you might have over 100 drink, but rarely you'll have over 100 food. This is actually the first time I've ever spawned with... I spawned with 190, I believe. I don't know. It was at the beginning of the video. And that was the largest I've ever spawned with. Alright, so... apparently scenery gets in your way in the desert. If you spawn in the Arctic biome, you're likely screwed. And I don't know why, but for some reason Gary thinks that animals don't live in the Arctic. At the very least, he could throw some bears and wolves in there. I don't know if he's never heard of Arctic wolves and bears. I mean, fuck. But yeah. There are... in real life, there are animals in icy, snowy areas. Not many, but there are. In Rust, the only time I've ever seen one is in areas that are multiple biome types. Biosphere types. You'll have like half of it will have snow on it, but the other half will be kind of like wastelandy, and they'll spawn a lot more in the wasteland and the desert. I'm a little confused why there's more bears in the desert than there is in the Arctic areas. That just flabbergasts me there. So, some people complain the bow is really wonky to shoot. So we're going to go ahead and test that real quick. Now, for those of you who have never used the bow in Rust, you do have to aim up a bit. In the new version of Rust, though, you can actually recover your arrows. The main reason for wanting to at least have a bow early on is those douchebags who like to think, hey, I can just go rob somebody right off the bat and get what I need. Yeah, you can do that. And somebody might kill you, though. And you deserve it. So from what I've been able to tell... ah, crap, I missed. Arrows are pretty freaking lethal. Like, I'm not kidding. They are really lethal. I mean, it's a deer. It's not that hard to kill. But let's try it with a bear. As you've seen, the bear takes a few hits with the stone spear to kill. And I missed. It took one hit. And sure, that looked like a headshot, but I could have hit that thing in the anus and it would be dead right now. That's why bows are still pretty much the most lethal weapon in Rust. Guns do work too, but a lot of people complain, and I'm pretty sure most of them are just young little kids who are like, oh, one of the most common complaints I heard is, geez, I was aiming at their head with the bolt action and they didn't get killed instantly. Yeah, because in New Rust, the bolt action pulls up. So, aiming at somebody's head doesn't actually help. You need to aim kind of around their neck, shoulder area if you really want to get a headshot. I mean, that may have been patched, so don't quote me on that, but up until a couple patches ago, that's how that one worked. You had to be you had to actually aim down a little bit to compensate for the bolt action shoot and pulling up when you shot. People complain that that's not right. Granted, I'm pretty sure most of those people are people who have rotted their brains playing Call of Duty and don't know how to actually shoot a gun in real life. And I love the people who are like, oh, I go shooting all the time, and Call of Duty is one of their favorite things. Well, that might be true. They might do that. It also might they might be full of shit. And that's my opinion of the matter, is people who can do stuff don't tend to feel the need to try and prove themselves to people on the internet. There's no point in blustering about something. Alright, so now that we've got food and supplies, first step is obviously start getting your shit set up. Now, most people are still using the normal foundations, which is fine and dandy, but you can actually use the triangle foundations now. Up until, I believe, only one patch ago. I believe it was fixed this patch. This would crash your game. And I don't mean like, oh no, I mean, well, it didn't crash your game, you couldn't do anything without dropping the blueprint and logging out and logging back in. You literally had to drop the blueprint, log out. You could not ever use the blueprint again. So it was a waste of a couple hundred wood. Now you can use the triangle patterns. So you lay down your foundation, which I might have skipped a step in explaining that. But yeah, I'll discuss that in just a second. And once you have your foundation down, you need to pull out your hammer and you need to hammer it. This will get it all nice and set up for you. So, then you take your foundation again and you right click. This brings up the menu. If you're playing in a lower resolution, you might not get the full menu and it might be very hard for you. Which, sorry, that's life sometimes. Now, the same applies for, let's just go ahead and throw a window. And now let's go ahead and do walls. And crap. If you make a mistake like this, immediately pull out your hatchet and just strike it once. If you hammer it, it's going to take a lot more strikes. Okay. And don't forget your doorway plan. It's essential because you cannot climb in through the windows in New Rust. It just don't work, people. Alright. Now, you may be wondering why I selected the door plan. Because in current Rust, there is no automatic magic door. Well, there wasn't in old Rust either. But you actually have to do work. Now, doorways are kind of wonky. You have to aim at them very specifically in the hammering. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I know. But yeah, I will show you. Cannot actually get in or out windows. Now, you can't lock the door without making a lock. Now, this is one of the things that is most complained about in the game, is the locking system. It is weird, and it is kind of screwed up, but beggars can't be choosers. Okay, now while there is no ceiling, because there is no ceiling, it's floor. And if you want to make stairs or something, you have to, you have to actually make the stairs in an area where it doesn't have an effect. We're not going to make stairs this time. But if I wanted to put stairs, say, like, right here, going this direction, I'd have to remove this piece of the foundation. Or that piece of the floor plan. In order to properly put something up, you have to have it attached to an already completely formed structure, like how these are all attached to walls, and those are all attached to walls. Right here, there is no wall. So in order to basically put this up, I need to actually add a wall inside. Now, this is kind of stupid in my opinion when it comes to things like this, but heck, who am I to argue? So we're going to put a wall up. This is one of the most confusing things in the game, is why the hell can't I complete my ceiling? Because you didn't put a wall. And voila. So we're at level 3 right now. Now we're level 4. Now the final one takes metal pieces, and it takes quite a few minutes. But it's worth the investment of time, people. Because without doing this, whoops, I'm out of metal fragments. It takes hours. Literally hours from what the raiders have told me to get through a new level 5 door. Now, I'm not actually expecting to survive. I'm just doing this for your guys' benefit. If I do, for some reason, survive, holy freaking crap. But I'm going to show you what I do. And I'm sure this is going to probably bite me in the ass. I wall myself in. It's not always effective, but it actually has worked very well for me in the past. What the hell is that? Oh, wolf skull. It has worked very effectively for me in the past to avoid being raided. I will wall myself behind a wall, people will break in, they'll take the shit they can find, but they usually won't go through the trouble of breaking down all of my walls just to see, oh, is there somebody hidden behind this wall? Yeah, there was. But yep, so this, people, is a non-PvPer's quickie lesson on how to survive in the modern Rust. It's brutal, it's hard, and heck, you'll probably die many times. I'll probably be dead when I wake back up. But, heck, that's what happens. Just remember, if you spawn in an Arctic zone, hit F1 and type kill. No spaces, no quotations, no slashes, just kill, and you'll die and you'll be able to respawn. I'm not going to do that because I'm in a good place right now. But yeah, thanks for watching, people. Make sure to leave a like, a favorite, share, and subscribe. And yeah, we'll be back soon. Stay foxy. Bye-bye.